slam. Second and third options. He's looking. Has to release it. And it's caught. It's Pickens. Some time. Loading up. Going deep. Pickens. He's got it. Oh, come on. Prescott gonna launch it, going deep. CeeDee Lamb makes the catch. Scott and keeping quarterback draw for the touchdown. Prescott. For Pickens. Safety coming over. Touchdown. Pickens. And probably Dallas lead. Squeezed his way through, end zone ahead. Dallas takes the lead. Cowboys Nation, stand up tall. We'll never let our spirits fall. Let's go, baby! We'll always fight, determined to reach that height.
All right, it's Thursday, so you know what time it is. Back for episode 2, and this time, unlike the inaugural episode 1 last week, I don't think we'll have an echo. I think we've worked out the kinks in our OTA stretch, our voluntary, if you will, Dylan, OTA stretch right now. So I think we're live. I think we sound all right.
Yeah, the players came to play in OTAs. They're all pros. We did not come to play, unfortunately. It took us a couple reps to get it going. But here we are, and we're ready to roll. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the simple things in life, you know, you just kind of have things aligned. You're trying to get through things, and, you know, you happen to set your phone down for, I mean, the world we live in now, you set your phone down for a little bit over an hour, and you're like, let me check my phone real quick. It's like, oh, hey, we got somebody on vacation. We don't have a key. We need a key to close. I'm like, oh, we're supposed to be live. I'm like, well, thank God my shop's only like a mile away. So, you know, quick in, quick out. But, you know,
They
look,
tried
I'd
to
rather
sabotage us, man. Must be
did.
Eagles fans.
Oh, no, not they couldn't work with me if they were. I'm not going to say that. I mean, I'll say that here. I won't say that in public over there. But I was like, hey, look, rather have the hiccup before than the hiccup during, like, you know, last week. So, you know, there, and you recovering obviously from the fishing trip still.
Oh yeah, man. I got the burnt head. I got some injuries elsewhere. And I'm on
No. We were worried about the other injury. Do we rub something on the head?
Yeah.
Though?
Well, yeah. I think the head's good to go, man. I think I'm like Wolverine. I'm a quick healer. You know,
quick healer. Well, I mean, speaking of you know, quick healing. You know, hopefully these guys out here in the OTAs right now. Nothing too many. Obviously, well, I mean, I guess we do have offensive lineman Hennessy getting some work done. But outside of that, you know, precautionary with Bland, precautionary with Mingo, precautionary with Jalen Thompson. Health is wealth, particularly this time of the year as you're moving through things. I mean, I've saw a couple of guys for some other camps go down already. You hate to see it. Absolutely despise injuries. But unfortunately, it is a part of the game. But we always talk about it this time of the year. I mean, obviously, you don't have it happen anytime. But I mean, before you get to the games actually count, man, you just want to stay as healthy as possible. So as the OTAs are rolling for the Cowboys here, we're just around the corner for some mandatory. Health is kind of pivoting in the right direction so far, at least.
Yeah, and it's all just the guys that are being held out. It's mostly just precautionary stuff. No really concerns on any of that, right? And the big thing is the guys who have not been healthy, the Overshones, the Rebels, those guys, they're all trending upwards in the right direction. They should be full go. I mean, they've been full go, but we should see them full pads, ready to go in camp. And what an exciting time, man, to see some of these guys that we've really wanted to lean into and see more of them playing at a high level and healthy, and we're going to get a chance to do that here soon. So very much so looking forward to that.
No, facts. Notice that I saw like the Rams canceled their mandatory camp altogether. I think maybe the Niners did as well too. I was like, well, I don't think that's going to be happening around Dallas, but neither here nor there.
Well, we got a big news coming up, man. We got a mandatory camp. It's a checkpoint for a certain somebody.
Well, there's got to be some. The official watcher pickings. Shout out to Mr. Harris, Nick Harris for War Star Telegram, was over there and got some video feed of Mr. Pickens at a particular camp. Which, interesting enough, that same company that he's doing the camps with, I took my godson to that camp. They're actually out here in Longview, Texas, over at Spring Hill. And that's where we got to link up with Ferguson last year. So that camp does a lot of work. I know Jay Will also, Javonte, I know he does some work through the camp. So they have a lot of Cowboys guys that go through that camp. So I know there was some questions out there on social media. Does anybody have the schedule of the camp, so on and so forth? Live and direct, there was some video form down in Corpus Christi, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, of Pickens indeed running the little youth camp today.
Yeah, and I saw some drama. Some people are trying to start some stuff on the social medias. Oh God, he removed his logo from his helmet. Blah blah blah. Well, they all do it. It's a copyright thing. So don't take anything from that whatsoever. It means nothing. It's just standard operating procedure. Right.
The company that's doing the youth programs or the youth camps, they're not affiliated with the Cowboys. So they can't use the star,
right.
all that stuff. So you can be in a silver helmet because you're a Cowboy, but you can't have the old star over there, as you will.
Yep. I had to look into that just to double check. It took me all about 30 seconds to figure it out. So if you want the information, it's out there, people.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that. I was like, Ferguson on his flyer, he was the same thing. I was like, okay, it's much to do about nothing. They'll figure it out. Kind of just where it's at. So, but again, officially, there was visual evidence, so people can. If they had some speculation about if he was actually running these camps or not, which is funny. Even before if you paid attention, even before like he signed the tag or any of that, like there was a schedule of all that already of him doing or being a part of these youth camps prior to even signing the tag. So part of the course, but that isn't going to change the fact come Tuesday. It's, it goes from voluntary to mandatory. And the eyes of Texas will be upon the Star of Frisco to see if he happens to land or not.
Well, I'm about 99% sure he'll land. So yeah, we'll see. TBD. But I bet money on him.
Yeah, I just think, look, I think it's pretty simple. If he wasn't going to show up to the mandatories, why sign the tag?
Yeah. You're not opting into fines. That's horrible management from his handler with his agent Mulugeta and all that. If that's the case, that's just would be insane mismanagement. And they're not stupid. They're not going to do that. He'll be there. He's not going to forfeit money because he's got no way out of the situation. So, and they tested the markets. There wasn't interest because of not so much the money. I bet you if he was a free agent, a real free agent, he probably would have gotten paid a decent sum. But pair that with the trade capital, and it is what it is at this point. He'll play on the tag, and that's what it is this season. So he'll be there.
Yeah, and like I said, he could have just once again very easily waited till waited all the way to July 15th, then signed, right? And then there's nothing to be had there. And to your point, as you just said, his agency is not going to say, all right, let's go ahead and sign this tag and then not show up. It's counterproductive from the fine standpoint, right? The money, but let's to the other side, and often debated, right, is how the league feels about him, mature status. Has he put it? It was just a Pittsburgh problem, and we need to see if he's really put it away in Dallas. And then someone said, well, maybe there was. They had the Vegas thing where they had to be benched. Who was that on? Does he need to grow up and all that? And if you're trying to get somewhere within that spectrum and buy into, there is some pushback around the league as far as how he's conducted himself at times. Okay. The best way to do it is to walk the line, not the term I want. It's just do your job, be a professional. We said we were going to sign, we signed. Okay, now it's time to be here mandatory, not voluntary. You pull up, I'm here, and you put it to bed and you move forward.
Yeah, and there's some guys who's, if there are indeed shenanigans, you put up with those shenanigans, and as long as you have the leaders around and all that, the right culture, you can put up with a guy or two that's like that. But typically teams aren't going to pay a guy like that mega money and trade a bunch of capital unless they have a solid history of performance to pair with the shenanigans. And he's basically got a year, right, under his belt of semi-shenanigan free now. Nick Eatman's show the other day, he did mention that Pickens, and this is something I mentioned before too, because I've heard it as well. Pickens did have multiple fines for not attending or being late to meetings. Now those are private; they're not public knowledge, right? So the team doesn't have to let people know. But voices inside the building talk about it, and so you pair that with the Vegas stuff, and at the end of the day, for the Cowboys, if he's showing up and he's getting 1,400 yards and 6 or 7 touchdowns or more, whatever, I don't really care. But management cares, front offices care. When they're paying the checks to these guys, they care, and so it is a factor at the end of the day. And with a weaker quarterback, I don't say weaker, but maybe less mature quarterback, that could be a problem, right? Stuff like that. You don't want to lead guys astray and give them the wrong ideas and all that. So you want your leaders to be leaders in those situations, and I'm not sure that he's that. But here in Dallas, I think it's a great fit, and hopefully, not just for this year, but hopefully this year and beyond, he remains a Dallas Cowboy. I really like him a lot, what he brings.
Not big facts. Kick Out says, dude won't risk injury till the season starts. I guess you're alluding to a hold-in per se, but I think that's, if you were just going to hold in, then you don't sign the tag. I think that's the point where it goes back to the point that you did sign the tag. If you didn't want to do anything at the mandatory camp, just don't sign the tag. And it goes back into, if you want to call it repairing the image, doing the things that need to be done to get to that mega contract. It probably isn't conducive to that whenever you could have just sat back and waited, because no one would have faulted him, right? Let's be clear. If you wait all the way to July 15th, signed it, shows up the first day of Oxnard, nobody's batting an eye on that. Sure, there could be some exterior. He's not happy. There could be a lot of things outside the building that people would have conversations about, as long as nobody's saying anything on the record. And that drives the meeting, that does things. I understand that point of it. But once you signed it so early, too, you show up, you do your job now. So a hold-in, it's not a situation where Lamb had to choose to hold out or Micah had to, quote-unquote, back pain hold in. I see you down there, Dallas, as well, talking about the back pain and migraines. It's a unique situation. It's not a one-to-one of what was going on with Micah last season, or even go back 2 years with Lamb and how that thing operated on each time with those contracts.
Yeah, and kind of like what you were mentioning there, about the perception and all that before. He's got to lay the foundation for his best season. Let's be honest with you. He's shooting for. Hopefully, it's not another tag, because I feel bad. It's a lot of money these guys are making, but you don't have the future financial security, so it kind of sucks to play on the tag. At the same time, it's a lot of money you're making too. So you combine that 2-year period and you compare it to other receivers over that 2-year period. He's like a top 5 paid receiver or something like that in actual real life cash money in your pocket. And so it's a lot of money, but he doesn't necessarily want that. I don't blame him. He wants a long-term deal. And so to get that long-term deal, you got to show up on time. You got to show out every single week. You got to be an all-pro type player if you want that 40 mil plus, which he was last year, right? He put up Jamar Chase type numbers, right? He was a baller. He was a stud. But there's still some of the other concerns. And so in order to put your best foot forward, you got to lay the foundation now, today. And I think that was his intent in signing this thing so early, was to be a part of all the mandatory practices moving forward and put that best step forward for that foundation for a good 2026 season.
But until we get to Tuesday, speculate away. And that's absolutely what this thing is going to be around the Star in Frisco and within the cycles of the pockets of the NFL. in where it's at. So yeah, man. I mean, I get it for sure. That's
Speculating season for sure.
oh yeah, it's honeymoon season. It's everyone's all pro season. Yeah, it's all it all
Overreaction
comes
season.
overreaction season. Sure, yeah. I mean, it all comes together right now for sure. And but again, not concerned until there's something to be concerned. But we'll see, right? I
Yeah,
mean, we will.
I'm excited.
It's okay. Hospital balls too is crazy work over there. Lazy routes coming. Well, y'all boys are negative. Is it lazy routes coming? Hospital balls. Jeez Louise. Well, we'll see. That's why they line up and play the game. But beyond that, Overshown back in the thing. We kind of talked about him earlier this week, and after he's been back from the marriage or the wedding, I should say, and getting married and getting back onto the field, and talks about him doing some mic work, if you will, with the second string, and him and Barham was on there, and he's doing will work with the first team. John Machota caught up with him. He had some interesting things to say as it pertains to the old Mike linebacker position, right? And pretty, looking a little like he's ready, right? The Overshown says the middle linebacker role fits me. I've been wanting to be the Mike since my rookie year. I felt like there was going to come a time where I wore the C, aka captain, on my chest, and I had the green dot. Now I got it. I'm so excited. So we can kind of go back into, we were doing the whole shoddy, he has his favorite, but he's not going to tell you who the favorite is. And now, he's back and having those conversations. He's getting those opportunities. Is way too soon, Dylan, obviously, way too soon. But on week 1 in New Jersey, because that's where they play at, right, is New Jersey. We talk about the Giants. Week 1, is your starting Mike linebacker going to be Demarion Overshown, a.k.a. Agent Zero?
Yes, sir. I've been saying it for a while, and I mean we haven't talked about it a bunch, but back when the Shoddy said that thing about having his favorite, I'm like, it's got to be Overshown. Like, who else could it be? Who else is there? They didn't have anybody else on the team at that point other than Overshown, right? That really could do that, and so I figured it was probably Overshown if he came back healthy and was good to go. He's apparently looking great at OTAs when he's there, not getting married apparently, doing the workouts and whatnot. We'll see more come then. Now I say that, I don't know if he was actually at the OTAs or not after the marriage thing, but
let me address
he
this.
Looks good, right? Good.
Let me address this real quick, right? The wide receiver playing with no insurance equals safe play. But what insurance did he have last year? Did he play safe last year? Because he wasn't making $27 million last year. I disagree with the point here that he's going to do safe play or not play as hard, because I mean he could have did that last year, right? If y'all thought it was just a prove it year, he did that. And now he's back here with the $27 million, right? That it's going to turn into that. It's going to be counterproductive to what he wants to ultimately do in this league. I just don't see it that way. Again, he bet on himself last year, because remember whenever the trade happened and he first got to Dallas, they didn't want to do an extension. Him and his agents didn't want to do an extension when the trade went down. Those are things that happened there. So now they had an opportunity to kind of test the waters out here in free agency. I understand the tag and how things work, but they did that. They came back, said, no, we're going to sign the tag and go. But we're signing the tag and we're doing everything in a timely manner, right? And showing to being the consummate professional to go out there and play. And the kid loves the game as well, too. Let's be very clear. This young man absolutely played with his hair on fire last year. I just don't understand why we would think now that he was not going to play that way because he didn't get a long-term extension. Once you're on the field in between the lines, I mean, you're going to go play. Maybe I'll be wrong. We'll see.
I don't get that one, but yeah, we don't got to dive too far into that, I suppose. No. I mean, he's playing for something much greater than the $27 million at this point. He's got a chance to really go out and make generational wealth that'll define, his family's success for the next however many, decades. So, I mean, he's not playing for $27 million.
And be clear, I'm okay with him paying him, by the way. Yeah, I mean, and to be clear, I'm okay with him paying him. I mean, they got till July 15th. Maybe something happens. Maybe it doesn't. We'll wait and see. But I'm absolutely okay with them getting the deal done and getting things moving and move on. I think they should get him done. I don't think they're going to get him done. I wish they would get him done. I think Quentin Williams needs to get done as well, too. The sooner the better on that side. That's a different kind of conversation for later when it comes to that.
It depends on the ask, right? And I say this all the time. We don't know what the agent's asking for. Is he asking for 40? Are the Cowboys trying to lowball him at 28? What's being said? We don't really know.
Sure.
If it's $35 million a year, I'd pull the trigger. If it's any higher than that, I don't know. I might consider tagging him and then see what I can get for him next year on the trade market. Tag and trade. There's a lot of angles they can take. I think the tag and trade for next year is probably the most realistic if I had to guess, especially if he balls out this season and plays himself outside of a new contract here in Dallas. But I mean, we'll see, man. There's a lot of moving parts in this thing, and I think the least likely thing is for him to go out in the field and just give up because he got a tag this year for $27 million. I couldn't disagree with that one there more.
Sorry. Well, we derailed there. We'll go back to the linebacker in Overshown and Agent Zero. My fault. I just thought that was
that real quick. I actually caught myself. I heard that Overshown. I hadn't seen anything from Overshown or anything like that, but I heard he had some good practices at the voluntary OTAs here. I don't know how much he participated because I know he did get married, but apparently he looks good and healthy, man. What up, Davion? I see you down there, buddy. Hey, Rick. But yeah, I mean, if he can be healthy, and obviously he's going to be your Mike, apparently. He says he's going to be your Mike. He declared it his on that post you just shared. So, yeah. I mean, it's his. And next in will be D Winters, and I'm happy with that, with him throwing a little bar him every now and then. And, dude, I like the linebacker core, especially when you look at the guys they have in front of them and behind them. I think this defense, dude, watch the video I'm putting out tomorrow, all right? Everybody that's watching now, I got a video coming out tomorrow. I talk about just how much this defense has improved and why it's okay to be excited about this defense heading into the season. And don't be reserved. Don't be scared. Look at the facts. Look at what's coming in, and there's a lot of reasons to be excited. And DMO is one of them, if we're being honest with you.
Right. I mean, we're talking about 8 potential new starters. Like as far as how much they turned over this defensive roster in a single offseason, I'm impressed with. I knew there was going to be a lot of change. I didn't know they was able to. I wasn't sure they was going to be able to turn it over this much, right? And sure, we can have conversations about, well, I wish you were a little bit better here, wish you was a little bit better there. I think that's kind of a little bit of things that happen every year when it comes to that. But I think the fun part, as it pertains for the fan base and where it's at, is, I mean, the thing was rock bottom. I jokingly say we had the 39th ranked defense because there's only 32 teams, just how bad it was last year. Zone coverage defense, 32 in EPA, 7.7 yards against the zone, 32nd. And once again, I mean, it's dead last across the board in so many things. But the fun part, now that we're through the bad side of it and going through it last year, is the fun part is we see all the new faces they brought in the turnover and where it's at. We see the new coaches that they brought in staff-wise from DC all the way through it. We kind of have an idea of how this is coming together. As we're sort of talking about the linebacker and where it's at, we get to watch that through the OTAs into the training camp and how that thing's built. But now we're along for the ride. You know, the best thing from a standpoint of a fan is watching the rebuild happen in front of you in real time and see that and have expectations and see how high can it go. Won't be 32nd. Will it be 25th? Can it get to 20? Dare we dream around 15? We don't know yet. But that's the fun part is, you know, it's going to be better. You have guys you can believe, or I don't say believe, you have guys that you feel better about than what you had on the field last year. And by the way, we drafted Caleb Downs, ladies and gentlemen. So
and I'm going to try something here. Hopefully I don't break this thing, but I want to show you just exactly what I'm kind of talking about here as far as the additions and why this is totally okay to be excited, and kind of the turnover in just a single season. It's quite insane. Let me go to this. How do I open that up? That's the question.
Actually, I'll just stop my screen. Boom.
Aha, there you go. Appreciate it, bro.
There you go. Nice, you throw up your screen.
Can you see it?
I cannot, but that's okay. Go for it. Oh, there it is. Boom.
There you go. All right, yeah. So basically, this is what we're looking at, right? And this doesn't even take into account the guys that are healthy this year, the guys that Dallas traded for before the season started. You know, last year, 5 days before the season, traded for in the middle of the season. But just the new players, right? They traded for Rashawn Gary, they traded for D Winters. That's a heavy duty edge setter there with Rashawn Gary, and offers a decent pass rush, and is going to help a lot of other guys with their pass rush. D Winters, a really sturdy. He's going to be your will linebacker apparently, right? And then we go to the draft. Caleb Downs, we're all excited about Caleb Downs. We all know what he's going to bring to the table. You get your quick win guy with Malachi Lawrence. We'll see what he can do as a rookie. And I think I spelled his name wrong on this chart potentially. But he should offer you as a rotational pass rusher some juice that you didn't have before. We're all stoked about barring him at linebacker, the wrecking ball. He can play on the edge, can play at linebacker. I'm sure he'll do plenty of blitzing his rookie year. We'll see if Devin Moore can stay healthy, but if he can, another guy that can be a really good piece in the secondary as a good depth piece that should see playing time. And Overton's the kind of tweener guy. We'll see what their plan is with him, but he's a guy who's going to do a lot of the dirty work and help a lot of the other players make a name for themselves. He might not get a lot of recognition from your fans, but people who watch film, love film, they'll love, hopefully, LT Overton with what they have planned for him. And then, finally, you get to free agency. Jalen Thompson, the best free agent signing we've had in God knows how long, probably the best pure safety we've had since Sensabaugh, I guess, I would say. It's been a while, right? Maybe even longer than that.
It's been a while. There's a song there.
Copyright incoming. Kobe Durant, your corner, he can probably play outside. He can play, nickel if you want to have Downs and Thompson back deep. You can throw Durant in and maybe in the nickel, but he's also a good outside piece as well. And then you got some other guys here. Otito Agbonia, Jonathan Bullard, a couple guys are going to help in the run game, and then PJ Locke, a good depth piece at safety. So you take all that into account with the now healthy Overshown, the now healthy Revel, 100% healthy guys. Bland hopefully will be back and ready to go. And I mean, this is an entirely new defensive unit with an entirely new scheme. And Knicks, I don't know how you can't be excited about it. Hopefully you can tell just how excited I am.
For sure. I mean, that's the fun part is it was so bad last year. And we saw it, right? We kind of saw the slow collapse like the year before in Zimmer. And Zimmer did some nice things. Like once he stopped trying to do the Dan Quinn things to do a little bit more what he wanted to run with the double mug look and different things, it looked a little bit better. But I mean, we saw it kind of going downhill. And then obviously it came to we had the conversation before we were doing this channel, right? And it was either my space or your space. I can't remember which storyliners or as the star turns. I can't remember which one it was. But even before the Micah trade happened, it was, look, this defense is in a full rebuild. We were kind of there then. Oh, and then the Micah trade happens. I'm like, oh, I mean, we were already there before Micah, right? So, I mean, here you go. Now you got to do something with the pieces that you got, which as you looked over there on that graphic you put up, well, you throw Q, that's a part of that. Clark, that's a part of that. The draft pick of Malachi Lawrence, that's a part of that. So you see some things that you've gotten back from that. And you could make the argument that if you had paid Micah, maybe you don't go pay Thompson, right? And where that is. But the fun part from it and why people should be excited is it's the unknown, but you feel good about the pieces they've added and where they're going and how things are articulating, as they say.
Yeah, and you mentioned last season, right before the season started, we talked about they're in a rebuild defensively. Once they traded Micah, that was like they put the dynamite around the bottom of the house and they just blew the whole thing up. It was starting from scratch.
Some C4.
Some C4. And then they traded for Quinn Williams in the middle of the season, and that's when the rebuild really started, right? Yeah, Kenny Clark as part of that trade deal.
Sure.
Okay, I mean, he's a good piece to have, right? But you're really building around Quinn Williams, right? And then out from there. And so that's what they've done now. And I love that they got the head start on that in the middle of the season. And now, little Dallas Cowboy here says, new coach scheme, personnel, this might not be running on all cylinders till week 8. I start formulating an opinion on them then. I 100% agree with you. I will say, I think from the jump, I think this defense will at least know, because they have a lot of high IQ players, they'll at least know where to be. They won't be lining up in the wrong spots consistently, I would think. We don't know yet. That's my thought. And then as the year goes on and this team matures and they all get used to the new scheme and each other, I think by the end of the season, you go from a serviceable defense to a defense that maybe builds a reputation for itself.
Yeah, hopefully we won't see a lot of guys in the secondary doing this.
Or the pointing. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, let's just start there. And if we can get there, it's already a step forward. We won't be 30 seconds. We just get that out of the way. It's a step forward immediately.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And with the guys they brought in the secondary, high IQ guys, obviously Downs, Thompson, and you got DMO apparently directing guys as the green dot in the middle. Dude, there's a lot of smart players on that defense now.
Right. Even going back into the conversation we had earlier this week with Rashawn Gary, and the things that he's doing now, just going through the film after OTAs and making sure the guys are going through what they're doing in the individual drills the right kind of way to make sure it's on the up and up to get to where they need to go with this defense, which is probably one of the reasons why Parker wanted to make sure they acquired him at the beginning of talent acquisition season, because he understands being up there in Green Bay, what he brings to the table, how he operates. and having a guy better like that in the room for Izaraku and the Malachi Lawrence, who you just drafted, is paramount. We've talked about that whenever they got Gilmore in here and how he was influential with the cornerbacks, right? And where you can have guys, those vested veterans that have played the game the right kind of way. That's knowledge that you can give. That, I mean, a coach could talk to you all day long, right? But when you have a guy in that room with you consistently helping you in those ways, it just goes a long ways for these players.
Yeah, got to have people bought in every single room, man. And the more guys you have bought in, the better. But you get one leader type that's bought in, and he'll get the rest of that guys bought in. And that's your Rashawn Garys, that's your Caleb Downses of the world, your DMOs. I mean, yeah, it's some of these comments are making me laugh. It's I'm excited, bro. Nah, I guess that's that. You know, we don't have to go too far into my personal excitement, but I'm pumped, dude. I'm probably drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit too much.
I'm trying to figure out who Dono is going to play center field for. Is he signed yet? Where did he sign? Who's he playing center field for next year?
The Yankees.
Oh, the Yankees. Oh, he's going to baseball. Got it. Got it. Hey, I like this one too. Hey, nothing will change with everything new. The only thing that's consistent in life, my friend, is change. No matter what, there's always
it's like
change.
what you get that out of a fortune cookie, but it's usually they're positive out of fortune cookies. That's a little negative.
No, facts. But yeah, the front seven. And again, like I said, we could talk about, would you want a more established linebacker in the room? Absolutely. And overshown with the injury history there, right? I mean, it gives you pause within the health and what that can be. You could talk about the edges a little bit and how that pressure is going to look. And, obviously, they don't have a high end guy. Rashawn Gary's a 7 to 9, maybe give you a 10, but he's a 7 to 9 sack guy, close side edge, a D-Law-esque kind of player, what he brings to the run defense and his pass rushing capabilities. Look and see where Izaraku jumps in year 2. Obviously, what Lawrence can bring you as a rookie in year 1. And how they design certain things. But I think the other thing is lost within those that are worried about the edges, just what Quentin Williams brings from a pass rush standpoint as a defensive tackle. And that's just something we haven't had in Dallas. And Leroy Glover, maybe. We had a short stint there of David Irvin for like 6 games, and then that was that. So the Big Q, I don't think, even though we got him at the trade deadline for a handful of games last season, I don't think people really wrap their head around the kind of player he's going to be within the scheme as well, which should also, AKA, be exciting.
Yeah, and if there's one position to be probably concerned about, it's probably your pass rush, specifically on the outside, because you're counting on year 2 as Izaraku, which we'll see. I'm excited about him. I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited, but he's got the hip going on, so we'll see what happens there. You got a rookie with Lawrence, who, again, we're excited about, but he's a rookie, and rookie pass rushers typically don't do a ton, right, first year.
That was Izaraku last year.
Right. Yeah. Unless you get a prodigy like, number 11 was. But and then you got Rashawn Gary, who, he is what he is. He's not like an all-star pass rusher, but he's just a really steady guy. He's like a Jadeveon Clowney plus, or like you said, number 90 of old. So, there's reasons why you can pump this thing up, but there's definitely some reasons that give you a little bit of pause. But I think what's going to help is the outside pass rushers. They're going to be helped, like you just said, by guys like Quinnen Williams on the inside. We trading for a guy in the middle of the season and him having to adjust to a whole new scheme, a whole new system, new teammates around him, all that. He made an impact right away, but his impact's not really going to be felt fully until this season, I think. A lot of people are going to be shocked at just how much a DT can bring to the defense.
Agreed. Speaking of defense, have you seen Jay Toya lately?
I've heard he's doing well, but why don't you fill us in, because I have not seen much about him.
I mean, he was a small guy to begin with, and I saw a picture of the D tackles walking. This guy's pretty massive. They talk about the year 1 to year 2 and how you can see some of the growth in the size, and you see that with Izaraku, unless you sit it next to Barham. Yeah, Toya bulked up. I was like, yo, I saw that picture. I was pretty surprised by it.
He bulked up as in like he's muscular now?
Well, the D tackle, bulking is bulking, sir.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. Bulking is bulking. Right. Big fatties. Okay, we need him in the middle.
Well, that's a guy that, he had a couple of nice plays last season, but his floor was obviously very low, being a later round pick. Right. So his goal has got to be just the consistency piece, just got to be more consistent, and that just means raise that floor, make less mistakes, and then the rest will follow. So Josh here says, I have to ask, y'all feel like we'll see more starters in the preseason with all the new stuff going on? Heard it debate today and want y'all's opinion. What do you think on that?
Oh, man, it's always the chicken and the egg, right, when it comes to preseason. And you know, starters, they start all this. I'm old school. So let me preface that first and foremost. I think preseason reps matter. Okay. I think they do. I would like my guys to get some reps in there. What I also understand though is I'm not quite archaic as a dinosaur. So I understand change. And with them, I absolutely hate the fact that they've shrunk preseason down one game, but we know that the second shrinking is coming as well. This will be an 18 game league. 2 games, you, good luck. I think where the process is and watching them turn over and where the starters are going to get the work at is when they have these practices and they're doing them with other teams. And those have become the invaluable reps in quote unquote the preseason for those starters, right? So, last year we did it with one team. This year, doing it with two, with the Saints and the Rams. That's where I think we did with the Rams last year, if I'm not mistaken.
It was
But
the Rams. Yeah.
right. Okay. So
Yep.
again with the Rams, and now you're adding the Saints in there as well. I think those are just invaluable stuff for getting those starters the work now. And I think we wasn't sure where Shotty would be at on that last year. I think we got a pretty good view of how he handled it last year. Doesn't mean he won't pivot, but I would go on the side of no, they're not going to see the stars in preseason. They'll get their work on those joint practices and outside. And when we say guys are not getting right, the Dak Prescotts, right, the CD Lambs, the Pickens, the Fergusons, those guys, are not. You're not going to see those guys, right? And when it comes to preseason,
Yeah, and you definitely got to get some of your younger guys, going. Got to get them some snaps in the preseason. The thing is, it's a risk reward, and in a brand new system, it's tough to know what the right thing to do. And I don't think there's a hard set rule. I think if they look like crap in these joint practices with the Rams and the Saints and whatever in training camp, I think you give them more playing time in the preseason, right? Because you got to get them ready. And if they're not ready, then you got to get them ready. But if they look like they're ready to go, they're doing what they're supposed to do, and the coaches make the decision to hold out a bunch of guys, that's fine too. I will say the hard thing about judging some of the down roster guys, like we're talking about wide receiver 4, 5, 6, and some of these other guys, when you don't have the players around them, right, and other teams are playing those higher end players at least to start the game, it's unfortunate that you just can't evaluate these guys, and losing that game in the preseason really, really hurt with that aspect of it. So that's something else you got to consider too. What's the goal long term with some of these developmental pieces? How much do you want to get them work and proper work to be able to judge them and get them developed?
but to that point, if the pivot is we're going to get 2 joints, right, not just one, we're going to get 2 joint practices with teams as we move forward through this thing. Sure, get the work there. It's a more controlled environment as well too, and get the work there with your starters and where it is, and then save those preseason games like you were talking about, Dilly, for those young players to get out there and do those things and execute and get after it. Again, old school me, like that. The true answer, and not me understanding how this thing is pivoting, is yes, everybody should play, and yes, we need 4 preseason games. However, it's just not the league now where we're at.
Yeah, it's the risk reward. You just got to figure it out, and you're down a preseason game now. So I mean, that's tough to know what to do.
Said past drafts, I question some of our draft picks. This class, not so much. I'm Dylan. I mean, I think right since Shotty walked in, we can have that conversation about this draft. I mean, do we really question many of the picks right last year, even Football Fanatic or Dylan? I think we got 2 drafts now underneath Schottenheimer. We're not doing the red flags early, something we know he was on the record for and talks about that heavily, particularly draft 1, which we said, look, if the Cowboys would have took Chavon Ravel in round 2 last year, oh yeah, it's a Cowboys pick. I mean, he was a first round graded guy. He slipped because of the knee. The knee's supposed to be great week 1. Then you just go ahead and pull the trigger. That's what the Cowboys did, but they didn't. They ended up getting him in the 3rd round. But yeah, no, I completely agree though. From that standpoint, like they draft guys that seem to make sense in what they're trying to accomplish. And that's been a big change in the drafting philosophy for the first 2 years under Shotty, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the guys they drafted the last 2 years, and I'm trying to find a guy where I'm just shaking my head, like, why would they do that? And a lot of people shook their head at Tyler Booker. I was not one of them. I'll be very clear. I was team trenches all the way. I didn't expect it to be Booker at 12, I'll be honest with you, but I'm
Sure.
glad that it was because he is an absolute stud and a freak. And I know it's a guard. You can ask about positional value, all that stuff. but he's a stud. And then we were stoked they got Donovan Ezraku. We were stoked they got Ravel when they got Ravel because we were talking about him in the second round. Jaden Blue looks like a guy who's maturing, right, per Schottenheimer, and a guy that might get some playing time this season, hopefully, because he can transform or add another layer to this offense. Shamar James going to be a contributor in the 5th round at linebacker. So, I mean, there's not a guy last year where I'm like, wow, that was a reach or that was a stupid pick or anything like that. And you look at the draft this year, same thing. I mean, to get Caleb Downs, first off, that's like you get 5 free drafts now in my books.
Right.
winner, chicken dinner, right? Malachi Lawrence, we liked him. I know you like Malachi a lot. You were talking about him since January, right? Mm-hmm. Barham was a guy I didn't know about, but after doing a lot of research, I like the pick. And this is another draft where I'm like, wow, all these picks make a ton of sense all the way through. Well, they had the 4th round. They had 3 picks in the 4th, and then they had the 7th round. But all their picks all the way through the 4th round made a ton of sense. And so I think they're moving in the right direction to answer that question. I have no issue with the last 2 drafts at all whatsoever.
And that's kind of what we need to get back to where we want to, competing in this league. Everybody, look, I mean, here's a secret, or it's not a secret, or the Cowboys front office at times, though, they kind of preach it and go over it time and time again, but it's not the case. Like, we've heard Stephen Jones and company talk about a lot that, well, we don't do too much of free agency or whatnot because we're a draft and develop team and, we pay our guys. Well, ladies and gentlemen, spoiler alert, all of the other 31 teams are also draft and develop guys. I mean, that's not really a philosophy. That's how the league works. And hiding behind that and not doing other things is just hiding behind that to not do other things. Whenever the Cowboys miss on drafts, it hurts them more because of the way that they treat free agents and how they go about it. And if you happen to run into a unfortunate little run of 2-3 drafts that are not landing for you, and I'm not talking about just first round picks, like when the Cowboys, the way they operate, you need like your first, second, and third. I mean, you need contributors in a major way. And how they operate with free agency, and you don't get that out of certain guys, and it's not working out for you. You find yourself in the predicament that you've been in the past couple of seasons. Now, to the question about the draft, what's exciting is we can kind of understand these picks. We understand where they're kind of pointing, what they can do, and how they're going to fit. And it doesn't feel like, well, let's just go draft this guy because he's super trady, right? These are getting drafted with purpose for what they're trying to accomplish. But yeah, I mean, we're in the situation to a certain extent because of the past drafts, but I think it's fair enough to say to be excited of the draft since Shotty's been here.
Well, they obviously trust their coaches. They give their coaches a lot of input, right? And I think one of the issues they've had on the defensive side, because their offensive drafts have been just fine, and a lot of that has to do probably with having Dak Prescott and a lot of the continuity there with the OC and the play callers and all that. And so the offensive side has been just fine. The defensive side, they go through defensive coordinators yearly, right? A brand new guy every single year, hopefully until now. And so it's a different vision every draft, and they give these guys the ability to say and have a large say in who they want to pick, right? So that's been a problem. And when you look at the last decade, they've hardly hit on any defenders. It's crazy. I went through the whole thing just a couple months ago before the draft, and it was actually nuts how many misses they've had as compared to the rest of the league defensively, and that's why they rebuilt the defense and are rebuilding it currently.
No, facts. It was a joke, brother. He's not gonna give a pass for the next spot draft.
No. He's no Caleb Downs. What I would say is take all 10 guys off the field, just put Caleb Downs out there.
Oh,
and you're fine, bro. That's probably the brilliant scheme that we've all heard about from Parker, is just put Caleb Downs out there. And
put him at nose tackle and just let him cover everything.
It's like the reverse Zeke. Just put him at nose tackle. You're good.
My guy Yoda the Bill. What's going on, Yoda? He said, guys, heard Voch say he would trade Izaraku and or Booker for Crosby. Dylan, would you do it to get a proven edge rusher?
I'm just out of the Crosby talk, man. I'm done with it, honestly. I mean, unless you go get him for like a 3rd round pick or something, that's fine. But I mean, no, not. But Booker's crazy. First off, that's insane because that's a perennial All-Pro guy right there for the next close to probably a decade. Ezzy, we'll see. I would trade Ezraku for Crosby because I don't know, what to expect there. But I would be hard pressed to do that. But you can talk me into it. But I mean, I'm basically out on Crosby, man, unless it's a freebie essentially. So what are your thoughts on it?
Izaraku plus what? I mean, that's probably where I'd be at. Izaraku plus what? What is that entire trade kind of look at? I'm not just like at the very beginning of the call with the trade for Crosby. I wasn't in on certain things. I said there's a way that they can make the trade happen. That's fine. I'm not trading Booker. I wouldn't touch Booker at all. I'm right there with you, Dylan. I'm not touching Booker at all. Izaraku plus, a package. What does that package look like? You could twist my arm a little bit there. And I'm excited for Izaraku. But I mean, that side, okay, because I'm trading. Look, part of that is we just drafted Malachi Lawrence. Okay, we kind of got a guy here. He's young. So it's not like I'm losing my young guy to get an older, proven guy, and I don't have a young guy on the wings, right? And that's kind of why I could live with the Izaraku trade, depending on what the rest of the package looked like for Crosby. But that's about the only package I could talk about that I'll be like, I can maybe see it happen. But Tyler Booker, no way.
I mean, this guy in the chat's funny. He's a real comedian. I mean, Tyler Booker clearly is one of the best young guards in the NFL. So I don't know what you're on about with that. But yeah, Tyler Booker, I'm not touching him for any trade. He's going to be one of the cornerstone guys on the interior of the offensive line for years. You're going to have a really good interior three for the next, close to probably a decade on that offensive line. And you build out from there. That's same thing on defense. You build from the inside out, same thing on offense, inside out. It's all about trenches. You start there and build it out. And that's what they did. So no, I wouldn't touch that. They obviously need a pass rush, but Crosby's on the downside of his career. He's got the injury concerns and all that. So going back to I guess the original question, I'm not really interested in Crosby unless I said it's like for a freebie. And even as Izaraku, probably not. I probably wouldn't trade Izaraku either.
The only thing with that data in the Booker, because it's similar to Cleveland, but it's not though, right? It was an edge, right? You gave up an edge for an edge plus some compensation, which actually lowered the compensation because of who Verse is in the Crosby trade. But Booker for an edge, it's a guard. Now we're talking about Bass on the last year of his deal. He's going to start for you all of a sudden. Whenever you're having a open, as much as you want to talk about OTS, as Brian Schottenheimer's thoughts about battle at left tackle right now and creating that. What you've gotten from Booker to me, that I don't think it's an apples to apples type of situation of what they gave up in Verse. Defensive rookie player of the year, great second year. Booker, great first year. We're going into the second year. But again, the Izaraku thing, sure. Izaraku to me, sure. Izaraku in a package to make that happen, if they were interested in that side of things, absolutely. But Izaraku doesn't carry the same cachet as Verse did. So it's not like we're going to get a huge break, right, within that trade. If let's say they were interested in Izaraku for a second, like, okay, we'll take Izaraku and something else. But that something else is going to be more because it's not Verse, right? And that's why I said we have to see what the package is. But trading Izaraku in a package to get Crosby, I could live with.
Yeah, and when you talk about trading players from different position groups, I'm not a big fan of that unless it's really you have to do it because you're going to weaken the interior of your offensive line to strengthen your edges, right? Your defensive ends. And I don't want to basically steal from, what is the saying? Rob Paul to pay Peter or whatever the heck the saying is.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Rob
I don't want to
Peter,
have to do
Paul.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're getting rid of Izaraku in a pick, it's you're upgrading the same position. You're not like taking away from one position to add to another one. So that's my thought on that situation. But I don't think it's realistic. I don't think that would happen. So it's fun off-season talk, right?
Yeah, I did see a little bit of that. I was trying to dig in that a little bit more, but I was having to run some errands before I get on here. But yeah, after practice, I saw a clip and then some talk about Downs and Christian Parker getting talking and kicking it after practice. Look, let's be very clear. Christian Parker on open mic, I guess Shotty said on the open mic when he saw the Christian Parker after they made the down selection, he said, I'll buy a house in Dallas now. So, look, you drafted a guy, and, you've been here for a while, but you didn't buy the house until you got, Caleb Downs says a lot.
Yeah, he's putting all his eggs in the Caleb Downs basket.
Well, he was at least bought a house because of that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
Listen, if people don't understand the impact of one Mr. Caleb Downs, I don't know what to tell you. I guess just wait for the season and you'll see. But he's played in a pro style defense every year. He was in college, and he was the best player on all those defenses. Maybe even as a freshman, maybe he was the best player on that Alabama team. If there was ever a pro ready player, it's him. hands down. So
Oh, last question. What metrics or how would you deem the offense a success from last year? What one piece of metric you want to see? Let me just
yeah, I can answer. I'll start with that one.
go for it.
Let's see in the red zone. I'm sorry, my eyes twitching. I keep covering my face. My eyes twitching like crazy. Running the ball in the red zone. I mean, they stopped doing it last year. And, when you're down a bunch of points, I think play callers oftentimes get a little panicked and it's throw, throw, throw. Even when they don't have to, when they're on the 5-yard line, it's 3 straight passes. I think Schottenheimer, if he could stick to more of a run based offense in the red zone, I would love to see that. And just generally speaking, running the ball more overall. Hopefully, these games are closer this season than they were last year with a better defense that gets better over the course of the season. And hopefully, that means you can run the ball even outside the red zone more too and balance things out for one Mr. Dak Prescott.
Yeah, maybe you got a little bit better guy to give some more carries to. Look, Sanders had some moments there, but injured, and then Malik Davis was kind of. I mean, he got moments, but hey, look, if Blue and how they've talked about Blue so far and getting consistent and doing things, and he's able to do some things for you as well, can help take that load a little bit off of Williams, where you feel a little bit better about getting after there in the red zone as well. Or Williams is fresher once you get to the red zone, even to get those things done. But yeah, red zone efficiency, which, if I'm not mistaken, we kind of look at it. If we're talking about if you're deeming what we need to do better this year than last year, I didn't understand the Dean part, but it's like the first 7 or 8 games. Somewhere around in there, like the red zone was pretty good. And then it's like, maybe the tape's out a little bit. And then it was a little bit of a struggle for a while. And it was just kind of come and go how it was in the red zone. They had a good run out of the gate on the red zone for a while. And then it just kind of faded a little bit. But yeah, year 2, that part of it definitely has to get better for the Cowboys. The more you kick field goals, you get beat. Right. You got to punch some of those opportunities and get the job done. So yeah, red zone offense, one of the things at the very top of the heap for me too as well when it comes to this offense being better than last year.
And I think that when your defense is just as bad as it was last year and you have to score touchdowns or else you're going to lose the game if you don't score a touchdown on a single series, I think that puts a lot of pressure on the play caller, a lot of pressure on the offense, and it's all felt, right? And eventually you may be fine for a few games, 3, 4, 5 games to carry that pressure, but eventually it's going to come crashing down. And when it does, it's going to be a snowball effect, and it's going to carry over to other games. And I think hopefully, the root of all evils last year was the defense. So hopefully with the improved defense, that helps to improve some of the things on the offense as well, if that makes sense.
Sure. I mean, look, the offense can be more efficient and more proficient than they were last year and not score 30 points a game. Right. I mean, they can be a better offense and not have the same amount of yardage and stuff from an efficiency standpoint. I think that's the keys to the city when it comes to this offense this year is just being more proficient in what they're doing. And as you were talking about in the red zone with the run game, different things of that ilk, that's what you want to see move forward in year 2 of this program. And I think Shuddy's kind of talked about that through the OTAs as well with Clayton Adams and how more comfortable he is and talking with the wide receivers and things of that ilk and really settled into his position and where he's at now. And we talked about that last year. And that's something really to kind of talk about on the defense this year was you had a lot of coaches on the offensive side that were rookies on the NFL level or rookies at the position in general, right? Shuddy was a rookie NFL head coach. Clay Adams was a rookie offensive coordinator, even though he wasn't calling plays, right? Connor Riley was a rookie offensive line coach in the NFL, even though he was an offensive line coach in college, and he was also offensive coordinator in college for Kansas State. Right? Junior Adams, your wide receiver coach, he was a rookie wide receiver coach, right? So there's learning curves there, and defensively, right? They tilted that way. Christian Parker is a rookie defensive coordinator. Okay, Ron Smith's been around a little bit, obviously. You get to your linebacker coach, right? He was a defensive coordinator at SMU, so he's a rookie inside linebacker coach on the NFL level. So those are just part of the ebbs and flows and the learning side of things. And whenever you hear Shay talk about we're into year 2 of the program and how things are going to evolve offensively, where they're going to get to, it's exciting. And the other side is now watching the defense hopefully have some great things coming for us, but it's going to be some growing pains within that too, as they're getting everything lined up with a bunch of new players and a bunch of new coaches.
Yeah, they're not going to be shot out of a cannon, right? It's going to be a learning process as the season goes along. I think the floor out of the gate will be higher, much higher than the floor was last season, and hopefully we can get close to what their ceiling and their potential can be by the end of the year, and start to make that playoff run if the season goes that way. One thing you did mention as far as the offense goes just a minute ago, they're in a position where they could score they scored about 30 points a game last year. They could score 26 a game this year and potentially win. There's going to be weeks where they're sitting at 27, 28, and instead of having to go score a touchdown to go win it, they might be in a position to now go run the ball and run the clock out, right? Instead. So that's potentially 7 less points than they would have to score last year, but now it's a dub instead of a loss because the defense was able to get a stop at a key moment in the game. So again, it all goes back to what the defense does. I think we know what to expect from the offense realistically.
That's hey, man.
The
hey,
defense
look,
is
man.
everything.
Tell me you just don't know football. It's okay, brother. Sometimes it's just easier to just keep your mouth shut and not say nothing. Let everybody know you're not really on.
I'm reading
on
some of this person's comments. I think it's a little troll.
Yeah,
trolly.
for sure.
That's all right. We appreciate the support. Keep on commenting, brother. Really appreciate
Run it up.
Pumping up our
Run
numbers.
Up the algorithm.
Those analytics love you, my dog.
Analytics love you. Oh, he says, your next life, can you go over the thoughts on special teams? Oh, the one ire that my one side eye of Schottenheimer keeping that guy around and where it's at. Sure, we'll tell about that for the next live. That's fine. We will. I will definitely dive into that because I'm Mr. Hashtag Special Teams Matter.
We still got Brandon Aubrey, right?
We got butter.
But we talked last week, or maybe it was on our recording we did. I don't remember. But we talked about Turpin, right, and his special team stuff. And we'll save this whole thing for next week, I guess. But there were some concerns with Turpin last year, but I don't think it was all on Turpin. I think some of it also had to do with the blocking. So, yeah, I guess let's do a deep dive next week on that one. But let's give Turpin a little grace. I'll leave it with that, and I guess we can go on to the next part from there.
Little grace for a little guy. I like it.
A little bit.
Shouts at sir. Shouts at Turpentine. Shout out.
Yeah, T. We did talk about Pickens next week. It's I guess a TBD. We both feel really good about him showing up next week. We don't think it makes financial sense why he would do, or strategic sense to do what he did and sign the tag and then not show up to mandatory practices and basically opt into fines. So we both think that he'll be there next week.
Yeah, I think I'd be pretty shocked if he isn't there. Just from a business standpoint, nothing else besides that. Just simply business standpoint is he didn't have to sign the tag. He could have waited till after the mandatory stuff and signed it and just skipped it. It made no sense to sign it now than just to miss it and get fined money that you didn't have to. And also doesn't make sense for him to show up all of a sudden and do a hold in. Now, granted, he'll get in there. Now, you know the vibes. You got to pass a physical. You got to do some things, right, and get on that and do that. Now, they might have to get through that. Maybe he doesn't come out of the gate. But, yeah, him not being there, yeah, I'd be pretty shocked by it because he just didn't have to do it. And now you're just giving away free money at that standpoint. And it does absolutely nothing for you from a, no matter how we feel about it, but the overarching thing is clean up your image or those type of things. That's something that's out there in NFL circles. So it would be counterproductive for him to sign the tag and then not show up.
If there was leverage to be gained, right, then I can understand maybe losing some money as an investment to gain that leverage in the negotiations, but there's no leverage to be had at that point. So, Little Dallas Cowboy says, it's true, though. CP, no experience as DC. I will accept it if he gets his one close. And that's a realistic. I appreciate that comment because it is realistic. He has no DC experience. We do know across the league he's very highly respected and is kind of sought. Before he got hired, was thought as one of those next man up kind of guys, the next DC's up, whether it was here or somewhere else, a highly coveted guy around the league. And so I'm glad the Cowboys got him, but you're right. He has no experience in calling plays, so we'll see how long it takes him to learn how to do that successfully. But from everything that we've seen, there's a lot of reasons to be excited. But like we just said a minute ago, it's not going to be shot out of a cannon week one. It's going to take some time to get ramped up and rolling. I don't think we'll see and I hate to be mean like this, but I don't think we'll see the pure stupidity week after week after week that we saw with the last DC Eberflus. I think when he makes mistakes, I think Parker will learn from those mistakes and you won't see it happen again.
I mean, You go out here and get another guy that's been around the block 100 times and hope that it works. You just did that with Eberflus
Right.
or Zimber. And Quinn had moments, obviously. Or you go get a guy that's on the cusp and moving. And that's really kind of the wave is finding the next guy and where it's at. So I don't know. We've done a lot of retreads when it comes to coaches in general. It's okay to go the next wave. And those
Yeah,
that are in the know think he's a future head coach. And there's been a lot of that talk of, well, enjoy you while you got him because he won't be there long. So we'll see.
You know what you get with the retread? You get 20-year-old, schemes and systems that don't work in a modern NFL, which is exactly what we saw with Eberflus. It's good to have, we're going to say, a modernized defense from a successful coaching tree here in the year of our Lord 2026.
Out here on Ray J's internet, even. Our defense will start clicking about week 7 once it gets midseason. We'll see. Possible. Like I said, I don't care if it's just 31st. It won't be as bad as last year, and that's something to rejoice in.
Yeah, I would expect around, that Thanksgiving time, maybe shortly after Thanksgiving. That's what I was saying earlier when I was saying that I think they'll start off with a higher floor. They'll be good. It'll be an acceptable NFL caliber defense to start. I don't think they're going to be like this elite, awesome defense, amazing, week 1. But I think by the end of the season, they'll start to make a name and develop a reputation for themselves. And I think what we'll be saying is, wow, this is a really smart defense. We're going to see plays from these guys just based off of the historics that we know on these players. We're going to see them getting to spots before, the offense is able to, complete their plays. And they'll recognize patterns. And you'll see a lot of the Sean Lee type plays from multiple guys on this defense who are more athletic than Sean Lee too. So a lot to be excited about in that regard. And hopefully they have better hammies than Sean Lee as well, because his hammies hated him. Poor guy.
Yeah, no, that's big facts. But yeah, I guess we're about an hour mark here. I guess we'll put a pin in it. And ladies and gentlemen, man, last weekend before mandatory Tuesday through Thursday mini camp, and then of course it's the long hot summer until we get to training camp in Oxnard at the end of July. So Pickens watch is upon us, Dylan. For better or worse, no matter what we think, we don't know till we know, right? And we'll see come Tuesday and where that thing kind of lands at. And a lot of flood of information and press conferences and stuff for us to dig through. So I'm super excited for next Thursday, as that should be the final day of camp. If they don't cancel a day of camp, I've seen some of these teams have canceled the final day of their mini camps, and some have canceled the entire mini camp. So it's been a pretty interesting stand front seeing some of that stuff kind of circle around today. So we'll see what the Cowboys do. For sure, getting 2 days in, right? We'll see about the third day, but lots of info, lots of things to discuss. And we got to do a deep dive on special teams. We'll put notes in that.
Absolutely. It's going to be sad once next week's over, because then we're in a black hole for about a month and maybe a couple of weeks until camp starts. But that's okay. We'll still deliver the content. We'll come up with some fun things to talk about, maybe play some games, have a bunch of guests on here, get some thoughts on the season. And man, it was good talking to you tonight. And let's go Cowboys.
That part. Peace.